We are live now.
Okay, so a very good afternoon to everyone. Continuing with brush up sessions on object-oriented programming with Java. In session one, we mainly talk about basic concepts of object-oriented programming. Okay, like what is object, what is class, okay, what type of access specifiers are there, then how to create a class, what are the parts of a class, what type of methods are included in the class, what is an object-oriented application looks like, how it should work, what should be done, what shouldn't be done. Okay, without discussing much about Java. Okay, now continuing with that, today in session 2, now we'll focus more upon Java. So today we'll try to cover packages, arrays, strings, vectors, and inheritance. Okay, how these concepts are implemented using Java programming language. All right, so yesterday in the session 1, we discussed an application which is object-oriented, based on object-oriented approach, is basically a collection of interacting objects, and these objects are created from the class. Okay, now it is possible that your application may have large number of classes. Okay, so how to organize these classes? Okay, so way to organize classes is package. Fine, so basically what is a package? So packages, they provide mechanism for grouping a variety of classes or interfaces together. Okay, so we also look into another concept called interface, which is very similar to class. Okay, so for the time being, we focus on class. So if you want to group a variety of classes together, okay, organize them together, then we require concept of package. This grouping will be, of course, based on functionality. So say, for example, there are 5 classes that are based on some mathematical operations in your application. Then these 5 classes will be grouped together in a single package. There may be some 10 classes which are related to input-output operation in your application. Then these 10 classes will be grouped in another package. So in this way, based on functionality, the classes are grouped together in packages. What are the benefits? Why do you want to group? Why do you want to put classes into packages? So the first advantage is that classes containing packages of other programs can be reused. Okay, so those you have done even little bit programming in Java. In the very first statement, you write import. Okay, so there are predefined packages available in Java. So one of the benefit of packages is once the packages are ready, any packages created, other programs can reuse these classes from that particular package. Okay, with the help of statement import. Okay, so we'll look into this detail. In packages, classes are unique compared to classes in other packages. Okay, so you get to know that once you say that, okay, this is IO package, it means that all the classes related to input-output operation should be there in this particular package. When I say it is util package, you get to know that there will be utility classes in this particular package. Okay, so each package, which is a group of classes, will have some unique property from which is different from classes in other packages. Packages provide a way to hide the class. Okay, so if there are 5 classes in particular package, you can allow other class which is not in this particular package to access these classes, or if you want, they are not in a position to access these classes. So it is up to you how you want to provide the control. Whether a particular class within a package should be visible outside this package, or shouldn't be visible outside that particular package. So that control you get. Okay, so that control you get with the help of packages. So these are the benefits of package. Okay, there are two types of packages in Java. Okay, few names I took already, like IO package, util package. These are called predefined packages called API packages, application program interface. So Java has so many built-in API packages. Apart from that, if you require, you can create your own packages called user-defined packages. So there are two types of packages: predefined built-in packages, which are called Java API packages. And when you create your own package, having your own classes in it, then it is called user-defined package. Okay, some of the examples are here. A large number of classes are available in different packages in Java. So some of the examples are here, like java.lang, java.util, java.io, java.awt, java.net, java.applet, and so on. Okay, the list is very long. Okay, so each package, like say for example, java.util. So this particular package is like consists of classes which are called utility classes. Okay, like calendar class and date class. Okay, and so on. Okay, IO package which consists of classes related to input output operation, like input file reader, file writer, okay, buffer stream, and so on. AWT is related to graphics. Net is related to network programming. Okay, applet is related to applet programming, and so on. Okay, so these are built-in packages available. These are some of the built-in packages available. Okay, there are so many others. Okay, so as I said, you can create your own package. Okay, they are in terms of, like, the packages are in terms of kind of hierarchy. Okay, the topmost package is called Java package. This Java package contains variety of packages like AWT, util, and so on. And each package contains within itself a list of classes. Like here in this diagram, you can see that AWT package contains various classes like color, graphics, image, and so on. Okay, so every package will have this type of hierarchy, where the root package is some either predefined package such as Java, and then within that package you may have some sub packages, and each package may contain again within itself a list of classes. So it is basically a hierarchy structure. Accessing classes in a package. So how to access particular class from within a package. So as you can see here in the example, if you want to access color class, means if you want to create object of color class, or if you want to access some static member of the color class, then in the beginning of the program, you have to write import, then the package name, then followed by the class name. So in this case, in this example, as you can see, we are trying to access color class. So it is written as import. Java is the root package, which contains within itself AWT package, and color class is inside AWT package. Okay, so then it is java.awt.color. Okay, so the general syntax is like this: import package name dot sub package name dot sub package, and so on, ultimately class. If you want to access all the classes, from within particular package, then you can just put asterisk. So as you can see here, package name dot asterisk will allow you to access all the classes from within that particular package. Like suppose here, instead of only color class, if I want to access all other classes from within AWT package, then I can write import java.awt.star, which allows me to access any class which is available in AWT package. This import statement, as you can see here, this import statement must appear in the beginning of the Java program. Before you write anything else, before you declare any particular class within your program, the very first statement should be import statement. All right, fine. Now, what if you want to create your own package? Okay, so far we discussed like AWT package, but that is predefined package. What if you want to create your own package? Okay, so that is very simple in Java. You have to declare the package at the beginning of the file. Like as you can see, the syntax: package is a keyword, and you specify name of the package followed by semicolon. Okay, so package followed by package name semicolon. This particular statement can be used to create your own package. Okay, so as you can see, it is very, very easy how to create a package. So when you write your Java program .java file, and if you write very first line in your particular program, package followed by package name semicolon, then all the classes that you declare in that particular Java file will belong to that particular package. Okay, fine. So I can write like package first package. That's it. Package is created. Now all the classes that I will declare in this particular program after this line, here after this line, those all classes will belong to package called first package. Okay, define the class that you want to put in the package and declare it public. That is up to you whether you want that particular class to be accessible outside package or you don't want that particular class to be accessible outside the package. If you want that class to be accessible outside package, then you declare that class as public class. If you do not want class to be visible outside package, then do not put public keyword in the front of the class. Okay, like example, package first package. Now I'm writing in the program public class first class and then body of the class. Now this class called first class is within first package. Okay, straightforward. I repeat, the first statement in my Java file is package first package semicolon, and then I'm writing public class first class and then the class body. So this class named first class is in a package named first package. Will this particular class available outside the package called first package? Yes, it will be available because in the front of the class we have specified the keyword public. If you do not put this keyword public, then this class is available only within first package. It will not be available outside the package. All right. Now create a subdirectory. Now how to store this particular Java program and how to use that package in another program. Now for that, little bit trouble you have to take. Create a subdirectory under the directory where the main source file are stored. Okay, so you must be working in some current working directory within your any particular operating system. Suppose I am using Windows, then currently my working directory where all my Java programs and my all class files are being stored is your current working directory. Okay, so if you want to create a package and you want to create classes inside that package, then you create a subdirectory first of all. So what I will do, I will first create a subdirectory called suppose first package. Okay, now the Java file in which I am writing all this thing, package, first package, public class, first class, this Java file will be inside that folder named first package. Store the listing as the class name .java in the subdirectory created, and then compile the file from within that subdirectory. Okay, so I quickly repeat. Suppose that you want to write this particular thing, package, first package, okay, public class, first class, and the class declaration. Okay, and now you want to use this particular package in some other particular program. Okay, so how will you do that? You will first create a subdirectory within your working directory. Okay, current working directory. What will be the name of that subdirectory? The subdirectory will have the same name as package name, first package. Okay, so I'll create a subdirectory called first package. Now in that particular subdirectory, I will write .java program where I am writing this entire stuff, package, first package and all. Okay, I will compile that particular program also from within that particular subdirectory. What I'm trying to say is your .java file and more importantly your .class file will be there inside the subdirectory. Okay, fine. Then that particular package becomes available to the parent directory. Okay, now let us take more concrete example. Consider that I want to create this particular package called P1. So I write .java file and I start writing one .java file. The first statement is package P1 as usual. So all the classes will be now in this package P1. I'm writing one class, public class A. So now this class A will be in package P1. It will be available outside this package because it is written as public class. Now inside this public class, I have declared one method, public void A, system.out.println class A. Now this is my entire Java file, starting from package P1, the first statement up to this closing parenthesis. This file is called class A.java, where I'm supposed to store this file, where I'm supposed to store this class A.java file. I will be creating one subdirectory called P1. Why P1? Because my package name is P1. As I said, the subdirectory's name has to be same as package name. So subdirectory name P1. Inside that P1, I will be storing class A.java file. And when I'll compile this particular Java file from within P1 subdirectory, I'll get class file class A.class. This particular file also will be there in P1 directory. So your .class file and .java file and .class file, both the files will be in the subdirectory P1. All right, fine. Now I go to my current working directory, which is actually parent directory of P1. Okay. Now in that parent directory of P1, which is your normal working directory, I will write another class file. Okay. Now I want to use this particular class A, which is in package P1 here in this program. Okay. So this Java program and its corresponding class file is inside P1 subdirectory. Okay. Now this Java program in which I want to use this class from this package is in the parent directory of P1. Parent directory of P1 is nothing but your current working directory. Okay. So the first statement will be just like we have, if I want to use some predefined package and we write import java.awt.class. Similarly here, I will write import p1.class A. This allows you to access class A from package P1, which we just created in this particular program. So this Java program is allowed to use this class called class A from package P1 if and only if it is in the parent directory. Okay, fine. So here I am writing a class inside this Java file, class test class. Okay, public static void main. And now here I am creating object of class A. Object of class A. Class A is in this package, which I am accessing using import statement here. And why it is accessible here, why it is visible here? Because class is declared as public. Okay, that's why I am able to access that class here. Okay, now this file, this Java file, let me call this file as testclass.java, and its corresponding .class file will be in the directory of which P1 is the subdirectory. Okay, so let's say your current working directory is my directory. I repeat, your current working directory is my directory. So this .java file is in my directory, and there is a subdirectory in my directory called P1, and in that subdirectory P1 you have this Java file and its .class file. Okay, so this structure is slightly you can say a kind of a hurdle, you can say, but once the structure is ready, then you can always access all the classes from that particular package. All right, fine. So let us take another example. Consider package P1. There is a public class teacher. There is another class, public class student. Okay, now these two classes are in two different files. Why they are in two different files? Because remember that one .java file can have only one public class. I repeat, a single Java file can have only one public class. No matter how many classes you write in one .java file, out of them only one can be public. Okay, so I want two public classes. So if you want two public classes, you have to write two Java files. Okay, now I will write two Java files. In one Java file, I will write public class teacher. The first statement is package P1. I will write another public Java public class in another file, public class student. The first statement is again package P1. So it means that I have two Java files, teacher.java, which has a class public class teacher, and student.java, which has a class, which has a public class student. Both these files having public classes are in the same package P1. Okay, now I define one more package. Let's say package P2. Okay, public class courses, public class student. Now just observe, they are again in two different files in different package P2. Two different packages may have class with the same name. What we are trying to find out, what ambiguity can occur. So what we are trying to discuss here is, there is a package P1 with two public classes, teacher and student. There is another package P2 which has again two public classes, courses and student. So P1 package has a public class student. P2 package also has a public class student. Nothing but any class which is outside these two packages P1 and P2 can see two public classes, one from P1 package, another from P2 package. Now suppose in one particular program, if I write import P1.star, I can access teacher and student from package P1. And if I also write import P2.star, means it will allow me to access courses and student from package P2 also. Now if I try to create a reference, student 1, if I try to create reference to student class, there is ambiguity. You are trying to create reference of this student class or this student class. Okay, so how to solve this problem? Whenever two or more packages have same class, which is very unusual actually, but if at all present, then what can be done? So you have to write import P1.star, import P2.star, and to resolve the ambiguity, you have to write like this: P1.student, then create reference of it, P2.student, then create reference of it. Okay, it means that whenever there is name ambiguity, two packages having same class, then in that case you have to write package name dot class name, and then you can use it to create reference or object. So in this way you have to resolve the class name ambiguity whenever same class is present in more than one package. Okay, default package. So if you do not include package statement in the first statement in your Java program, which is normally the case. In every Java program, you will not create a package. So in that case, the class which is declared in that particular Java program goes to which particular package? So there is something called default package. Okay, so Java compiler automatically creates one package whenever you write any Java file, and that particular package is called default package, and the classes of your Java program will by default will go into that particular package. Okay, and compiler will look into the default package by default whenever it has to search particular class. Okay, now once you know the concept of package, now you can properly understand the access specifiers. Okay, so Java has total 4 access specifiers. Two of them we have already seen. Okay, two of them we have already seen, public and private. Okay, so now we'll see all 4. The scope is concerned with visibility of program elements such as classes and members. So what do you mean by scope? What is scope of a variable, or scope of a class, or scope of a method, or scope of any particular programming element? Okay, scope is nothing but in which part of the application that particular program element is available, is accessible, is usable. You can access it, you can use it. Okay, that is called scope. As I said, there are 4 different visibility possible for program elements in Java. Okay, one is related to inheritance. So right now we'll see three instead of all four. There are total four. One is related to inheritance. So that we'll see once we discuss inheritance. Okay, class members, that is instance variables or methods, can be defined public, package, private, or protected. Okay, so as I said, there are total four. This protected is associated with the concept of inheritance. Okay, without that, we have public, which we have already seen in session one. Private, we have already seen in session one. We say that public is the member which is accessible everywhere, within the class, in another class, everywhere. And private is the member which is accessible from only within the class. What is this package? Now we know that package is basically group of classes. Okay, so the package access specifier will allow particular member to be visible within the package. Within the package means all the classes within that particular package, but it is not accessible outside the package. Whereas public is accessible within the class, is accessible to all the classes within the package, is also accessible to all the classes outside package. Okay, the public is extreme, one extreme, which is accessible everywhere. Private is another extreme where it is accessible only from within the class. Package access is between these two. Any member of the class which is declared as package access, it is accessible from within the class. It is accessible within all the classes from that particular package, but is not accessible outside the package. All right, fine. So we'll see with the example. As I said, protected is associated with inheritance. Okay, a class, whenever you declare a class, it has two levels of visibility. Okay, as we discussed, when you declare public class, the public class is accessible within package as well as outside package. And if you declare class without public access, then it is accessible only within the package. Okay, so public scope means that it is visible outside its containing package, and default scope, default means if you don't write public keyword, default access specifier is applied, and that default access specifier is package access specifier. It means that the class is visible only inside its package. It is not accessible outside the package. Okay, a class member. Okay, in the previous case, we talk about where particular class is accessible. What about class member? Okay, so class member with public access means it is visible anywhere in the class, wherever the class is available. Okay, so as I said, a particular member which is having public scope is accessible everywhere, wherever you can access that particular class. Okay, a class member which is private, it is accessible only within the class. Okay, and default, or you can call it package, or you can call it friendly scope, it is available only within all the classes from the package. Okay, so this is public access, accessible everywhere, wherever you can access the class. Private access, available only within the class. And package access, it is visible to all the classes from within that particular package. Okay, so this is about member of the class. What we discussed previous to this was class itself, where the class is accessible, and here we are talking about where the class member is accessible. Okay, a class member with protected scope means it is visible everywhere except non-subclasses in other packages. Okay, non-subclasses. So this will be like when we'll discuss inheritance in detail, that time we can talk about protected access specifier. Okay, now let us take an example. Let's say I've created my package. Okay, I've created my package. So class A, see here, class A, there is no public access specifier. It means that this class is available only within my package. This class is available only within my package. It is not available outside my package. There is one more class, class B in my package, but it is declared as public. Okay, so public class B, this class B is available in my package. It is also available outside my package because it is declared as public. So visibility of class A is restricted to my package only. Any class which belongs to my package can see class A, but visibility of class B is public. All the classes in my package as well as any class which is not in my package also can see class B because it is public class. I hope this is clear. I quickly repeat this point. That is my package. My package has two classes, class A and class B. The difference is that class A has default access and class B has public access. What does that mean? Class A is visible to all the classes which belong to my package, but class A is not visible to any class which is not in my package, whereas class B, because it is public, it is visible to all the classes in my package as well as any class which is not in my package because it is public. All right, fine. Now let us see how it can be accessed. There is one more class called class B, which is also in my package. Okay, this may be a different Java file. Okay, this will be a different Java file, but because the statement is my package, class B also belongs to my package. So now remember, in the previous Java file, I had two classes, class A in my package, class B in my package, out of which class B was public, class A was default. Now in this Java file, again I have my package. I'm declaring class C. I'm declaring class D, which also belongs to my package. Now here, can I access class A and class B? Can I access class A and class B? Okay, yes, you can, because D is in which package? D is in my package. Okay, what is access specifier was class A default. It means that A is accessible to all the classes in my package, so it is accessible to class B also, because class A and class B both belong to my package. Is it accessible to it can access class B also? Yes, it can access class B also, because class B is anyway public. Class B is public, so it is accessible not only in class B, it is accessible in other class also. But class A is accessible to class B because class A and B both belong to my package. Okay, now let us take an example where you cannot access something. Okay, now consider another Java program where I am writing another, I'm creating another package. Okay, another package. Now in this program, I am trying to access classes of my package. So I'm writing import my package. First of all, remember my package contains how many classes? My package contains total 3 classes. Class A, class B, class D. Out of these 3, class B is public. Class B is public. Okay. Class A and class B have default access. So it means that from within my package, class A and class D are available only within my package. They are not available outside my package. Whereas class B is public, so it is available outside my package. So now in this particular program, the package is another package. I'm importing my package. Though I'm writing my package dot star, star doesn't mean that it will allow you to access everything. Okay, star means you can access all the public classes of that package. Okay, so my package contains only one public class, that is class B. So here I can access class B, that is I can create object of class B because class B has public. But if I try to write here same statement like private A some object, okay, so in that case I'll get error because class A is not public. Similarly, class E is not public. Okay, so class C belongs to another package. Class A, B, and D belong to my package. Out of A, B, and D in class C, I can access only one class, that is class B. Why class C knows about class B? Because class B is public. Okay, so I hope this example makes the concept of what is accessible, which class is accessible, and which class is not accessible. As we discussed in the beginning, package allows you to hide the classes. Now that makes like that particular statement is more clear in this example. Class A and class D are hidden from class C. Why? Because they are available only in my package, whereas class C belongs to another package. So class C, which is in another package, cannot see class A and class D because they have default access. Whereas class C can see class B, though it is in a different package because class B was public class. Okay. So in short, any class which is declared as public, which is it is accessible to any class which is outside the package also. But if class is not public, then it is accessible only within its package. Okay, and that is the reason in this particular program, class C is not able to access class A and D because they are accessible only within my package, not outside my package. All right. Now let us see another example here. Package, my package, class A. Okay. Then I have private data member integer data. One private data member integer data in class A. See, class A and class B both belong to my package only in this example. Okay. Okay, so they are in same package. So class A and class B, they can see each other. They are visible to each other. Okay, but within class A, I have one private data member. Int data is private. Now in class B, I can create object of class A because it is accessible. Why it is accessible? Why this statement is okay? Because class B can see class A because they both belong to the same package. Even I can call this method. Okay, I can call this method. Fine, because it is within the same package. But if I try to access this data directly, then I get error. Why it gets why it gives error? Because this data member has private access specifier, means that this data member is accessible only within this class. It is not accessible outside the class. So class B, though it can see class A, it can access its method because it is default. It can access, it can create object of this class because both the classes in the same package, but it cannot access this data member because it is private. Okay, so this is how data is hidden from other class, even though both the classes are in the same package. Okay, so what we are trying to find out here, that Java gives you a very good control over what should be seen outside the class, what should be seen outside the package, and what must be or how to hide particular thing from within class or from within package. So you have class level control as well as package level control. Okay, so you get precise control over what can be seen outside class, what can be seen outside package, or what cannot be seen with outside class, what cannot be seen outside the package. All right, fine. So ultimately, we can summarize the accessibility of various using various access specifier in this table. Okay, so there are basically 4 access specifiers: public, protected, that is package, default, and private. Okay, now if we start with private, private is accessible only within the same class, as you can see yes here, and it is not visible anywhere else. As you can see, it is no, everywhere no. Why everywhere no? Because private member is accessible only within the only within the class. Okay, then a slightly more relaxed one is default. So default means it is accessible in the class. It is accessible to the subclass in the same package, that is an inheritance. So forget right now. It is also accessible to other classes within the same package, but it is not available to any class outside the package. Okay, outside the package, it is not available. Okay, we'll not talk about protected right now because we'll discuss that in inheritance. And as you can see, it is all yes. It is all yes under public column. Means once you declare a particular member public, it is accessible everywhere. Everywhere. Okay, fine. So the most relaxed one is the public. Okay, all right. Fine. So that was all about the concept of package and how to create package and how to organize directory subdirectory structure when you have a package. Okay, and how to like put a control over what can be seen within package and outside package. Okay, now let us move to the next concept, the concept of arrays. Okay, so basically what is an array? So array is an ordered list of values that are of same type. Okay, what is an array? Many times in program you have to work with a collection of values where all the values are of same type. Say for example, score. Okay, that is like marks. So as you can see here, consider these are marks of the students, scores of the students obtained in particular test out of 100. So they are all of the same type, integer value. Okay, so in such situation, you can use concept of array. Okay, so entire array has a single name. The advantage is what? There may be group of like there may be 10 students or 50 students or 100 students. They all have got marks and you want to group them together. So you can use array and you can use single name to identify all those 100 values, all those 50 values, all those 10 values. Okay, so all these integer values are grouped together in a single array called scores. The problem is, what if I want to access this particular value or this particular value, or if I want to modify this particular value? How to access it? If they all have same name, when I say scores, scores means which score? This one, this one, this one. Okay, so to solve that problem, all these values have a unique number. Okay, the first number starts with 0, last ends with, obviously, if there are n number of elements in the array, then n minus 1. This number is called an index. So these values, each value present in the array has a unique index value. Okay, so from the diagram, I can say that value 98 has index value 5. Value 74 has index value 8. And using this index value, it is possible to access one specific value from within the array. Okay, so an array of size n in general has index value from 0 to n minus 1. Okay, so remember that index value always starts with 0. And if there are n number of elements, it will go up to n minus 1. So this is array of size 10. There are 10 integer values. The first integer value could be anything. The first integer value is 0. That is the location, the index of the first integer value is 0, and the last integer value has a location 9. Okay, because there are 10 integer values. Okay, now how to access this value? What is the syntax to use this index? Okay, so as I said, 0 to 9 index. Okay, a particular value in the index is referenced using array name, in our examples 4, followed by the index in the square brackets. Okay, like this. Okay, for example, scores, that is array name, in square brackets 2. Okay, 2 means index value 2. Okay, at index value 2, particular value, at index position 2, particular value will be present. Okay, index value 2 means actually third element. Why third element? Because index value, as we discussed, starts with 0. So index value 0 is the first element, index value 1 is the second element, and here in this example, index value 2 is actually the third element in the array. Okay, refers to value 94. Okay, if you remember the diagram, the value is 94, which is third value in the array. Okay, now this expression scores 2. This expression can be used anywhere where you can use any integer variable. Why I'm saying integer variable? Why I'm saying integer variable? Because this is array of integers. So each value in this array is an integer value. So wherever you use wherever you can use integer variable, in all those positions, you can use this expression because this expression eventually represents some integer value that is 94. Okay, like this. Okay, like you can write scores 2 is equal to 89. It means that 94 is now overwritten with 89. You can use it in some arithmetic expression like this. Scores first. Now what is first here? First is not a keyword. First is some variable whose value is 0, 1, 2, 3 or up to 9. Okay, so I can use it in this expression like this. Okay, mean is equal to scores 0 plus scores 1 divided by 2. It means that it is calculating average of first and second score. Okay, it is calculating average of first and second score. But what we are trying to discuss here is wherever you can use an integer number, integer value, you can use this array element like this. Okay, either in assignment statement or in arithmetic statement or anywhere. Okay, even in SOP statement like system.out.println, okay, you can write scores 5. So it is sixth element, okay, which is accessed here and its value will be displayed. All right. So wherever you can use the integer variable, you can use the element of scores because this array scores is basically collection of integer values only. All right. Now how to declare array? We have seen the concept of the array. How to declare this array? Okay. Let us take example of scores array only. The scores array can be declared like this. Int square brackets, empty square brackets, scores is equal to new. Remember, we have seen new keyword earlier. New keyword is used to create array dynamically. Okay, it means that the memory is allocated to these 10 integers at runtime and not at compilation time. So when you are compiling your Java code, compiler will go through this statement, but it will not make any memory allocation to that array. It will only note down that there is an array called score and whose size is going to be 10. Okay, but actual memory allocation will happen when program will start execution. So remember, unlike other programming languages like C and C++, in which arrays have static memory allocation, that is, memory is allocated at compilation time, in Java, memory to array is allocated at runtime dynamically. Okay, fine. So this is how you can declare an array. The type of variable scores is integer array. Okay, because we have specified brackets here. Okay, if you don't specify brackets here, so in that case, scores will be only an integer variable and not an integer array. So to indicate that it is an integer array, integer, the data type is followed by empty square brackets. All right, fine. Now note that the type of array does not specify its size. Size is not mentioned here. It only says that it is integer array. Okay, fine. The size is declared here that it will have 10 integers. All right, fine. So the reference variable score is just set to new array object that can hold 10 integers. Okay, fine. So in this example, in this statement, scores is nothing but a kind of reference variable. Okay, kind of reference variable. Though we are calling it as array name, it is a kind of reference variable which can store integer array of size 10. All right. Now bounds checking. Once array is created, it has a fixed size. In our example, the size of scores array is 10 when the program runs. Okay. An index used in array reference must specify a valid element. Okay, that is, if index value is not in this range, 0 to n minus 1, then it will throw an exception. Okay, it will generate an error. Okay, so in Java, there is one specific exception, there is one specific error called array index out of bound exception. Okay, it's a single word, though very long. Array index out of bounds exception. This error will be generated, this error will be thrown if you try to access element which is not in the bound. What I'm trying to say is, in our example, scores array has 10 elements. The index value is from 0 to 9. If I try to access scores 50, it will generate this particular error, because 50 is a kind of invalid index for the scores array, since it has only 10 elements. It is having only index value 0 to 9. So index is out of bound. So whenever you try to access element which is not within the bounds, this exception will be thrown. Okay, this is called automatic bound checking. Okay, you don't have to do anything. Okay, the Java interpreter will take care of this. Okay, so whenever you try to access element which is not within the bound, then Java interpreter will automatically throw this exception. Okay, every array object has public constant called length. Okay, so whenever you declare array, there is one constant attached to it called length, and this length constant will allow you to find out what is size of array. So if you want to find out what is the size of scores array, then you can write like this: scores.length. The value returned by scores.length will be 10. Why 10? Because the size of scores array is 10. Okay, so whatever the size of array, that size is written by the length constant associated with array. So whenever you declare array, whenever you create array, array has always this length available to it. Okay, so in this example, we are talking about scores array. In your case, in your program, you may have any particular array. Whenever you have an array, there is a length attached to it, and you can find out size of that array with the help of array name dot length, and it will give you the size of that particular array. Okay, when you create array, it is also possible to initialize the array. Okay, so it is called initializer list, and it can be done like this. The values are delimited by the brackets and the brackets. Okay, this is the example. Like in this case I'm creating an integer array called units. Okay, called units. See, I'm not specifying size. I am only specifying it is integer array. Why I don't require to specify size? Because in this example, I am creating array at the same time also I am initializing. Okay, so I'm initializing like this. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are total 10 integer values in this particular array. Okay, I don't have to specify size. I just open the curly braces. I specify the list of integer values and I close the curly braces. Automatically, the size of this array will be equal to the number of values I have specified here. So in this case, size of units array will be again 10, because I have specified here list of 10 integer values. Okay, similarly, you may have a character array like this. Say letter grades. Letter grades is a character array. I have specified here A, B, C, D, E. It means that this is character array of size 5, and it is initialized. The first element is character A, second is character B, C, D, and last element is character E. This is at location 0. Location means index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4. Similarly, in this case, in the previous example, units integer array is created and initialized to these integer values, where the first value 147 is automatically at index 0 and last value 476 is automatically at index value 9. Okay, so in this way you can declare array and simultaneously you can initialize to whatever values you wish. Okay, fine. In that case, you don't have to specify the size of the array. It will be automatically taken from the list that you are specifying. Okay, array as parameter. Now, when you call a method, when you invoke a method, it is possible to pass entire array. Okay, so an entire array can be passed as a parameter to a method. Like any other object, array is always passed by reference. Remember, this is very important statement. This is very important statement. You might be aware of parameter passing methods. Okay, there are two types of passing method: formal parameter passing, okay, and actual parameter passing. Okay, in formal parameter passing, what happens when you pass parameter using formal parameter passing? What happens? Whatever changes you make inside method, those changes are not reflected to actual parameter. Whereas in actual parameter passing method, what happens? Whatever parameter you pass in the method body, what changes you apply will be reflected to the actual parameter. Okay, so it is also called pass by value and pass by reference. Array is always passed by reference. Remember this statement very well. Whenever you pass array to method, array is passed to that method by reference. It means that whatever changes you make within that method's body on the array elements are reflected to original array. Okay, so be very careful whenever you pass array to the method. Be very careful, because if you make changes in the method's body on some element of the array, those changes will be reflected to original array that you have passed to the method. Okay, the changing an element within method will change the original array as well. So you have to be very careful whenever you pass array to any particular method. Okay, an array element can be passed to method. If you want to pass a single element, then you have to specify array name in the square bracket, the index value. Now in this case, entire array is not passed. You are passing only one specific element of the array. Now, if that element is integer value, then that element is passed by value. It means that the changes made in that particular method's body will not change that particular array element. But when you pass entire array, array is passed by reference. But when you pass an individual array element, depending upon what type of array element it is, okay, changes may be reflected, may not be reflected. All right. So if it is integer array, and if you pass only one specific integer element of that array to method, then it will be passed by value, and you don't have to worry about changes being reflected to the original parameter that you have passed. All right, array of object. This is something very interesting. So far, we have seen two examples like array of integer, array of character. You can create array of float, array of double. Okay, more interestingly, you can create array of objects. Okay, like suppose I have a student class. And if I want to store details of say 50 students, then what should I do? I can create 50 objects of student class, and I can store them as an array. Okay, collectively as an array. So all the elements of array, in my example, all the elements in the array are reference to student objects. So this is very interesting and very important concept available in Java, where you can create array of objects. Okay, so instead of holding integers, instead of holding characters, array of object can store references to the objects of particular class. Like I give you example of student class. So if I create array of student class, then in that case, each element of array is basically reference to the student object of the student class. Okay, fine. Now, elements of array can be object references. The following declaration reserves space to store 25 references to string object. Okay, here we are taking example of string. Okay, which is basically an object, right? So I can write like this: string words new string 25. Now in this example, am I creating string? No, you are not creating string. You are creating array of string. Strings are not created. Okay, remember that string is an object. We'll see after arrays, we are going to talk about strings also. String is an object, and object is created only with the help of new keyword. You may say that new keyword is used here, but this new keyword is used here to create this array and not the string. Remember, whenever you create array of object, I repeat, whenever you create array of object, you have to use new keyword twice. First, to create the array, and second, to create those objects. Okay, fine. Because in Java, array is created dynamically, array is assigned memory dynamically at runtime. So you require new keyword for array, and objects are also created with the help of new keyword dynamically. It means that you require new keyword for object. So I make the picture clear. If you want to create an array, you require new keyword. If you want to create an object, you also require again new keyword. So if you are creating array of object, you have to use new keyword twice. Once to create once to create array, once to create object. So in this particular example here, I want to create array of string object. So this statement creates array, not string object. How many elements are there in this array? 25 elements. 25 strings are not created. Only array is created with capacity of storing 25 strings. Now, if I want to create those string object, then I have to use new keyword again for each array element. Okay, so I will be writing words is my array. Words in the bracket 0 is equal to new string. That will create first string. Words in the square bracket 1 is equal to new string. That will create second string, and so on. Okay, so this statement is creating array of string, not the strings themselves. That is very important to understand. Okay, it does not create string object themselves. As I said, it is only creating the array of string and not the string object themselves. Okay, each object stored in an array must be instantiated separately. So as I told you, words of 0, that is words in the bracket 0 is equal to new string will create the first string. Then words in the bracket 1 is equal to new string will create the second string. In this way, every string has to be created separately. Okay, fine. Two-dimensional array. Now in Java or in other languages also, wherever array is possible, array can be one-dimensional or multi-dimensional. So here we'll be taking example of only two-dimensional. So one-dimensional array is a kind of list. Just now we have seen you can store list of integers, you can store list of characters, you can store list of strings, you can store list of students. But one-dimensional array is in general you can consider as a list of something. Okay, whereas if it is two-dimensional array, you can consider as a table, as a matrix having certain number of rows and columns. Okay, so one-dimensional array stores a list of elements, whereas two-dimensional array can be considered as a table of elements having certain number of rows and columns. Okay, diagrammatically we can see like this. This is the list of elements, one-dimensional. Okay, this could be scores, characters, floating point numbers, or even references to like student object. This is first reference, second reference, third reference, fourth reference, reference to string object, and so on. But it is only a list, one-dimensional, 0 to n-1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to n-1. It is basically a list. But now when you create two-dimensional array, as you can see, it is not one-dimensional. It is basically number of rows and number of columns. Number of rows and number of columns. So it is basically kind of table having certain number of rows and certain number of columns. Or you can call it as a matrix having certain number of rows and columns. Okay, fine. So let us see how to create such two-dimensional array and how to maybe use it. Okay, fine. So to be precise, a two-dimensional array in Java is array of array. Now this is more interesting. This is more like challenging to understand. If I go back to the previous slide, This is array, one-dimensional. It is easy to understand. It is two-dimensional array, and I said these are rows and these are columns. What if I say this is itself an array which contains this array? This is the first reference which holds this array. This is second reference which holds this array. So you can say that this array, which, okay, if you currently forget about these elements, you can say this is a kind of list. This is a kind of list, and this list, each element stores this entire array. Okay, so this is basically array of this one-dimensional array. This is second array of this one-dimensional array. This is one third dimension. This is the fourth array which contains this entire array. Okay, so what I am trying to say is a two-dimensional array can be considered, or is basically an array holding arrays. So it is basically an array of arrays. All right. So that is a two-dimensional array in Java is an array of arrays. A two-dimensional array is declared by specifying size of each dimension separately. Okay, so it is written like this. Now, instead of those 10 scores, for example, there are 50 students, and each student has, suppose, 12 scores. Okay, there are 50 students, and each student has total 12 scores. So now in that case, you require a table. Okay, so now scores is a two-dimensional integer array. As you can see, two pairs of square brackets. Okay, it is two-dimensional integer array. The first dimension has size 12. So there are 12 rows and there are total 50 columns. So it is a table with 12 rows and 50 columns. Okay. A two-dimensional array is referenced using two index values. Okay, so obviously now if I want to access like score number 2 of student number 10, score number 2 of student number 10. So I require row number as well as the column number. All right, so it will be accessed like this. Okay, so a particular value, for example, scores 3, 6. Okay, so sixth student, score number 3, or you can read it like this. You can read it like this: row number 3, that is actually 4th, and column number 6, that is actually 7th. So in 4th row, starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, it is 4th row and 7th column. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that is 7th column. So this expression is basically accessing element which is present at 4th row, 7th column. Okay, because index starts at 0, it is 4th row, though it is written there 3, and 7th column, even though it is written here as 6. All right, fine. So each array dimension has its own length. Okay, so if I want to find out what is length of third row, I can write scores of 3 dot length. I repeat, initially earlier we wrote scores dot length. It was single dimensional array. Scores dot length returned 10 because that array was single dimensional with length 10. Now in this case it is two dimensional. So as we discussed, each dimension, that is array of array. So what is the size of third array? So I can write scores of 3 dot length will give me total number of element in 4th row, that is element number 3. Okay, because each dimension is an array of array, and array within one dimension can be of different length. Okay, so because it is array of array, each array within array may have a different length. This type of array is called jagged, or only called ragged array. Okay, that is rarely occurring case. So we are not going into much details of the ragged array, but it is possible that you can consider it is like table with certain number of rows where each row has a different number of columns. The first row has 10 columns, second row has 5 columns, third row has 6 columns, fourth row has 2 columns. which is possible, but that is rarely happening, because normally when we talk about a table, we assume that by default all the rows are having same number of columns. That is more commonly used. So ragged arrays are possible, but normally they are not used because such situation rarely occurs. All right, fine. So after the concept of arrays, now let us look at strings. Okay, so in Java, basically string is an object, and in Java, string is created with the help of string class object. So in general, I say that string is basically a sequence of characters, and all the characters are collectively known as a string object. Okay, so instance of string class, which is used to represent a string in Java. Okay, so string class, now since we are familiar with the concept of package, I can say that string class is available in lang package. Java.lang package has a predefined class called string. Okay, and lang package is by default available to all the Java programs. So if you want to create string object in any Java program, you don't require to explicitly import any package, because lang package of Java is by default available to all Java programs. So you can simply write string in any Java program because the lang package is by default available. Okay, we can access individual characters in a string. So once you create a string object, what if I want to access particular character of that particular string? Okay, I can use various methods available of the string object. They are predefined methods available. So one of those methods is called character at. So using character at method, I can access one specific character from within that particular string. All right, fine. So there are various methods. We will not go into details of every method, but there are some like commonly used methods. The first method, as I said, character at, because whenever you create a character string, it is most likely that you would be interested in accessing individual characters. Okay, so in that case, you can use character at method, which gives you particular character from a given position. Okay. Another common thing that you would like to do is comparison of two strings. You want to find out whether two strings are equal or not. Okay, so there are total 4 methods available in string class called equals, ignore case, compare to, ignore case. Okay, now when you compare string, and string is basically sequence of characters, whenever you try to compare characters, the case sensitivity comes in the picture, uppercase characters and lowercase characters. Okay, so by default, uppercase characters and lowercase characters are considered different. Okay, so equals method will compare two strings for equality, but with case sensitivity. I repeat, equals method will try to find out whether two strings are equal or not with case sensitivity. Okay, so if I write hello world with all characters in lowercase, and if I again write another string hello world where even at least one character is in uppercase, let's say first letter H is in uppercase, equals method will return false, because the two strings are not equal since the first letter H is capital for the second string. But if I want to disable this particular case sensitivity, then I have an option available. I can use the method called equals ignore case. Equals ignore case is the method which will which will check equality of the two strings, but will ignore the case sensitivity. So for equals ignore case, uppercase characters and lowercase characters are same. So if I have two strings, hello world, with where all the characters are in lowercase, and another string, hello world, where first letter H is capital, for equals ignore case, the two strings are same, because it will not consider case sensitivity. Okay, so equals and equals ignore case, these two methods are used to check equality, whether two strings are equal or not. Now you can compare two strings, whether one string is larger than another string or not. So in that case, you have method called compare to, and you also have method which is not listed here, compare to ignore case, that is to ignore the case sensitivity. Now here, character by character, the string will be compared, and if all the characters are found equal, then compare to method returns 0. It returns negative if the first string is less than second string, and it returns value positive if the first string is greater than the second string. Now here less than and greater than means that it will compare the strings character by character, their Unicode, and wherever first mismatch will occur, it will compare which character at that position has larger or smaller the Unicode value. Depending upon that, it will return the negative value or positive value. Okay, whereas in equals and equals ignore case, it will simply check whether the content of the two strings are equal or not. So it will return true or false. Whereas in the case of compare to, it doesn't return true or false. It returns an integer value. This integer value could be 0 if both the strings are exactly same. This integer value could be negative if the first string has a character at particular position with Unicode value smaller than the corresponding character in the second string. This value could be positive integer if the first string has a character value at certain position which has a larger Unicode at the corresponding position in the second string. Okay, so it returns integer value, whereas equals method returns Boolean value, true or false. Okay, comparing strings is similar to comparing two objects. Now comparing string is slightly more interesting because strings are objects. So the same rule is applicable when you try to compare two objects. Content wise same or they are reference wise same. So let us look at some example. Equality test, that is if you use equality operator double equal to. Okay, you must be aware of assignment operator and equality operator. Assignment operator is single equal to sign and equality operator is double equal to sign. So this equality operator double equal to is true if content of the variable are same. So if left hand side and right hand side of double equal to contains the same value, then it returns true, otherwise it returns false. Okay, that is from the list of operators of Java. Okay, for a reference data type, equality test is true if both the variables refer to same object because the content of both the variables will be same address. Okay, try to understand this particular point. We are talking about equality operator. Why we are talking about equality operator? You can compare two strings with the help of equality operator also without using these methods. But how it is different? What happens when I use equals method and when I use equality operator? That we are trying to understand. So first of all, let us understand equality operator. Okay, so in general, when left hand side and right hand side of equality operator have the same value, equality operator returns true, otherwise it returns false. Now, if on the left hand side and right hand side, I have specified reference type. It is reference to some object. Okay, so in that case, the equality operator will return true if both the references are referring to same object. Why? Because the address value will be same. Okay, the equals method returns true if the string object are of the two variables contain the same string value. Okay, it means that equal method returns true if and only if the two strings content wise same. All right, now let us take an example with proper diagram. Okay, look at this diagram. I have two reference variables. Okay, word1 and word2. They both are referring to same string object. This is string object. This string object has a reference from two references, word1 and word2. What if I use equality operator? Word 1 double equal to word 2. Will it return true? Yes, it will return true. Why it will return true? Because this has this address. Word 1 has this address. Word 2 also has the same address. Because this object is referred by two different reference variables, the content of this reference variable is same. Why it is same? Because they are referring to same string object. So address of this object is stored here, address of the same object is stored here. So they are equal in terms of address value. So equality operator returns true. What if I use word 1 dot equals word 2? This also returns true because they both are actually referring to same string. Word 1 refers to this object. Word 2 also refers to this object. So it returns true because they both are referring to the same string. Now let us take a slightly different example. Now what happens? Word 1 refers to this particular object whose content is Java. Word 2 refers to this particular object whose content is Java. Content-wise, both the strings are same, but they are two different objects. They are two different objects. This string object whose content is Java is being referred by word 1, and this string object whose content is also Java is being referred by this word 2. Now if I use equality operator says false. Why false? Because this address content is not same as this address content. Okay, address content is different. This word is referring here. This word is referring here. So content wise, they are different because this address is different from this address. String content is same, but the address of this object is different from address of this object. So equality operator returns false. But now if I use equals method on the same two reference variables, word 1 dot equals word 2, equals method look at the content of the string. Is this content same as this content? Yes, it is same. It returns true. Of course, with case sensitivity. If this Java is written with J small, then this returns false because it is case sensitive. If I want to ignore the case sensitivity, I will write here equals ignore case. In that case, Java with small letter j and Java with capital letter J will be equal. It returns true. All right. Here we are trying to compare between equality operator and equals method. This is also syntactically correct. Okay. But it returns false value because both are referring to two different string objects. Whereas equals method look at the content of the string object. And let us come to the third case where word 1 is referring to this string object where the string content is Bali, and this word 2 is referring to this another string object whose content is Java. Equality operator will return false obviously because this word 1 is referring to this Java, this object. This word 2 is referring to another string object. So address of this object is different from address of this object. So equality returns false, just like in this case. Okay, now if I use equals method also will return false because content of this string is Bali and content of this string is Java. Content wise, they are different. So equals method returns false. Okay, I hope this diagram and this example makes it clear what is the difference when you compare two strings with equality operator and with equals method. All right, fine. So this is important to understand that you can compare two strings with equality operator also and with equals method also, but they are two different ways. Okay, fine. Okay, let us move further. Okay, the string that we have discussed so far, okay, like the example which we have seen so far, once created, it is immutable. Once created, it is immutable. Okay, and that's why we discuss the method. Immutable means you cannot change the content of that matter, content of that particular string. Okay, once the string created, you cannot modify that string. You cannot change any character of that particular string. Okay, and that's why the method that we have seen is like character at, compare to, equals. Okay, so these methods do not change the content of the string. They only compare the string. They return particular character from the string. Okay, so whenever you want to create a string which you don't want to modify, then you can very well create that string with the help of string class. But whenever you want to create a string and you want to manipulate that string, you want to change the content of that string, you want to modify the content of that particular string, you require another class called string buffer. Okay, so when a string is created, it cannot be changed. It is called immutable. Remember that object of string class are immutable. You cannot modify content of the string. Okay, but if you want to modify, then you have to create object of string buffer class. So string class and string buffer class both are available in the same package, lang package. So you don't have to import any package if you want to create string object or string buffer object. Okay, but the difference is what? When you create string object, you want to create a string whose content you don't want to change. You don't want to manipulate. You don't want to modify the string. And you will create string buffer object when you want to manipulate the string, you want to modify, you want to replace the character, or you want to add something to it, you want to delete something from it, then you require string buffer object. All right. So for example, string buffer word is equal to new string buffer Java. Okay, so this example creates object of string buffer class called word with a content Java. All right, now this string, though I'm calling it string, it is string buffer object. Okay, string here means it is a sequence of characters. So now in this case, the string created Java is mutable string. Nothing but content of this string can be modified. I can modify this later. I can add something from here. Okay, I can delete from here. Okay. If the same string is created with the help of string object, then you cannot change. So in this case, the string is created with the help of string buffer class. So this is modifiable string. Okay, how it can be modified? If I write like this, word dot, this is the string buffer object, word dot set character at 0 to D. Okay, 0 means the first character. I am replacing first letter capital J with capital D. So Java becomes Dava, okay, in this example, which is not possible if the same object is of string class. I cannot change anything. But since here I have created string buffer class object, I can modify any particular letter of this particular string. Let's say, for example, I am setting the first character at 0th position, which is capital J. I'm replacing it with character D. Okay. Word dot set character at 1. Okay, so now 0 is replaced with D, character 1, that is small a, this letter I am replacing with I. And now the string becomes diva. Okay, the first statement where J replaced by capital D. In the second statement, small a, the first A is replaced by letter I, and this string Java now becomes diva. All right. This would not be possible if I create string object and string and not the string buffer object. All right. So this is how string buffer object are modifiable, mutable string. String object are not mutable strings. All right. Okay, so we cannot input. Okay, now one we can say kind of difficulty, you can read from the user only string and not string buffer. Okay, when you want to read a string from the user, you cannot directly read string buffer. Okay, using say util package. Okay, using buffer reader, using IO package. Whenever you read string from the user, you can read only string object, only immutable string. You cannot read string buffer directly. It means that if you want to read in string buffer, you have to first read string object from the user, and then you have to convert it into string buffer using constructor of string buffer class. All right. It is not possible to directly input string object from the user. Okay, that is a kind of restriction in Java. Okay, what else you can do in string buffer? There are so many methods available in string buffer also. You can append, you can add a new string or any other value to existing string buffer using append method. Okay, so the method append can also take an argument of primitive data type. You can add any integer value to string. Here I'm saying string means string buffer. Okay, because only string buffer is modifiable string. So you can add in integer value or some floating point value also to a string. So what happens whenever you try to add or append an integer value or a floating point value to a string, it is automatically converted into string and then appended to the existing string. Okay, so any primitive data type argument is converted to a string before it is appended to a string buffer object. Okay, fine. So we can insert a string at the specified position using insert method. Okay, the syntax is as followed. String buffer object dot insert method. In the bracket, you specify the index and what you want to insert. Remember the difference between append and insert. In the case of append, you have to only specify what you want to append, because append always appends value at the end of the string. That's what the append means. Whereas insert means you can insert in the beginning, you can insert in the middle, you can insert at the end. Where exactly you want to insert? So insert method requires two arguments: the index where you want to insert and the value that you want to insert. Whereas append requires only one argument, what you want to append. Okay, so difference between append and insert is append always appends value at the end of the string buffer, whereas insert can insert a value anywhere you want to, wherever you want to at a specified location. Okay, so the insert index has to be between 0 and the length of the string. Obviously, it cannot go beyond the index value. All right, fine. So example, string buffer str is equal to new string buffer Java is great. Okay, so I'm creating one string str, which is basically string buffer object. So it is modifiable string, and the content of this string is Java is great. Now, if I write str dot insert position 8 really. Okay, now position 8 means start from here. J is at position 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8 means this G value. Okay, so at 8th position, I want to insert really. Okay, so it will become, this string will change to Java is great. Okay, Java is great becomes Java is really great. Okay, so this word is inserted at 8th position. So 8th position is here. Okay, after this particular blank space. Okay, so this new value really is inserted in the middle of this existing string buffer. Okay, this is how you can manipulate the string using insert, append, and so many other methods like replace and all. Okay, fine. So after looking at arrays and string, let us look at another utility class available in Java called vectors. Okay, what is vector? Okay, vector is just like an array. It is just like an array, but it is array of objects. Okay, now in session 1, we discussed there is one predefined class available in Java named object. Object is one of the predefined class available in Java. Okay, vector is an array which can store objects of that class. Which class? Object class. Okay, so vector is basically an array of objects. What is the difference between array and vector? Array has a special syntax, that is square bracket. Okay, if you want to access particular element, you have to specify index in that square bracket. Vector doesn't have any such special square bracket symbol. Okay, just like how you use round brackets with other methods and other class, you have to use those round bracket only with vector, no special syntax. You can have array of any type. You can have array of integer, array of float, array of double, array of characters, array of booleans, array of objects, array of students. Vector has only one possible thing. It is only objects. Okay, and which objects? Objects of object class. Okay, you can change it, that we'll see later on, but by default, vectors store objects of object class. Okay, so whenever you want to store anything into a vector, you have to convert it into object. Okay, fine. An array has a fixed size, but vector expands as you add thing to it. It means that you don't have to worry about the size of the vector. That is one important difference. We discussed that once array is created, the size of array is fixed. Okay, like in our example, scores array of size 10. So it remains 10. Wherever you try to access anything outside that length, you get an exception called array index out of bound exception. You get an error. But in the case of vector, this is not the case. In the case of vector, as you keep on adding the thing, the size of the size of vector will keep on growing. Okay, it will keep on growing, it will keep on shrinking automatically. You don't have to worry about how, what is the size of this vector. Okay, so it is one, like you can say, a great thing available in Java, where it grows automatically, it shrinks automatically. No such construct is available in programming language like C and C++, which are prior to Java. Okay, fine. So prior to Java, we have languages like C and C++. In that case, no such construct like vector is available. Okay, whereas in Java, we have concept of vector, which grows and shrinks automatically on its own. All right, fine. Now, how to create a vector? Vector is a class which is available in util package. Okay, unlike string and string buffer, they are available in lang package. So if you want to create string object, if you want to create string buffer object, you don't have to import any particular package explicitly, because lang package is by default available. But yes, if you want to create vector object in your program, since vector is available in util package, and util package is not by default available to you in your program, so the first thing that you have to do is you have to import the util package in your program. So you have to write import java.util.vector, you can write, or you can write .star. If you want to access only vector class, you can write here in place of asterisk, you can write .vector. Okay, then you create vector like this. Vector vec1 is equal to new vector, just like how you create object of any class, just like how you create a student object, or how you create say employee object. Okay, similarly, how you create a string object. Similarly, you create here a vector object. So this statement creates vector vac1 as a vector object which has no size specified. Okay, no size specified. All right, fine. So you can specify initial size if you want. So here I'm creating vac2 as another vector where I can specify initial size. Why it is written as initial size? Because as we discussed, as you keep on adding things into the vector will keep on growing. So this size, whatever you specify, let's say 5 is initial size. So if you specify 5, doesn't mean that this vector can store only 5 values or 5 objects. It can store more than 5 objects also. So this becomes initial size. Now, when you add, the question is when you add 6th object in the vector whose initial size is 5, what would be the size of the vector? It will not be 6. It will not be 6. It will not be 6. It gets double. Try to understand this concept carefully. Let's say I have created vac2 as vector of object with initial size 5. Okay, now I have added first object, second object, third object, fourth object, fifth object. Vector is now full with initial size. What happens if I try to add 6th object? Because it is vector, it will allow me. But then what is the size of the vector? Is it 6? No, it is not 6. Whenever you create vector with some initial size, and if you add object beyond that initial size, the size of vector gets double. I repeat, whenever you create a vector with some initial size, and if you add an object beyond that initial size, the size of vector gets double. So now in my example, I am creating vector with initial size 5. As soon as I add 6th object, the size of vector becomes 10 with last 4 empty positions. Now I can add 7th object, 8th object, 9th object, 10th object. As soon as I add 11th object, the size of vector becomes 20. Okay, so whenever you go beyond the current size of the vector, the size of the vector gets double. So initial size was 5. As soon as I added 6th object, the size of the vector becomes 10. As soon as I add 11th object, size of the vector becomes 20. As soon as I add 21st object, size of the object will become 40. Every time it gets double. Can I control it? Yes, you can control it with the help of third constructor. Okay, this is a constructor of vector class basically. So now I'm creating vector with passing 2 parameters, initial size and increment size. So now in this case, I write 5, 2, 5, 2. It means that whenever you cross the size of the vector, it will increment by 2. So as soon as I add 6th object, size of the vector will become 7. Because initial size is 5, it allows me to add 6th object, but the size doesn't become double like in the previous case to 10. Here, because my increment size is 2, the size of the vector now becomes 7. Okay. As soon as I add 8th object, the size of the vector becomes 9. Every time it will increment by 2. It will not get double like in the previous case. What was happening in the previous case? Addition of 6th object, vector size becomes 10. Addition of 11th object, vector size becomes 20. Addition of 21st object, vector size becomes 40. Every time it keeps on doubling, which is sometimes very dangerous. Okay, after a particular number of objects in the vector. So here you can control by what amount it should increment. So if I specify 2, as soon as you cross the current size, okay, current capacity, the size of the vector is incremented by 2, not double. All right. Adding elements to vector. How can I add element to vector? Okay, so for that a method is available called add, which returns true or false, and it accepts object. As I said, what you can store in vector is only object. Of which class? Object class. Okay, so it always returns true because object is always added. Whenever you try to add object, object is always added to the vector, because even if you cross the limit, it will allow it, the vector will always allow you to add by expanding its size. All right, so it always returns true. You can add new element at the specified index if you specify 2 parameters, where you want to add and which object you want to add. Okay, so you can insert element at the specified location, whereas here it is always added at the end. Here you can specify index, okay, where you want to add new object at which position. So now in this case, this value has to be in the range 0 to the size of vector. Okay, fine. So this is how you can add object in the middle of the vector also. Okay, returning value, that is returning object from the vector. So, sorry. Before returning, it is removing. It is kind of deleting vector from deleting element from the vector. Okay, so there is a remove method. It removes the first occurrence of the object. So in the vector, if you want to remove particular object, then you can call this method. You specify remove, which object you want to remove. It returns Boolean, that is true or false. It removes the first occurrence of this object from the vector. What if this particular object is not present in the vector? It returns false. Okay. You can specify the position from where you want to remove element. Okay, so it removes element from the specified position of that particular vector. Okay, so difference between this remove and this remove is that this remove method removes specified object. Okay, that may be present, may not be present. If it is present, it returns true. If it is not present, it cannot remove it and returns false. Okay, now in this case, it is taking an index value. Okay, so if it is taking index value, then it will remove element from that particular position from the vector. Okay, and it returns void. Okay. If you want to remove everything from the vector, then there is a method available, remove all elements. It will make the entire vector empty, blank, vacant it. Okay, fine. So that is remove all elements. Now accessing element from the vector. So you have a method called element at. What it will return? Object. Because what is there in the vector is object of this class. That is object class from this particular position. Or you can specify get method. Okay, you can specify get method, which also works same as element at method. It accepts the index and returns the component at or the element at that particular position. Okay, element at was available in the previous version of Java. New version of Java, the latest version of Java has get method, but still you can use element at method. Okay, for compatibility with the older programs written in older version. All right, the first element method returns the element from the position 0. Similarly, we have a last element method which returns the last element of the vector. Okay, so you may not know the size of the vector. You don't know what is the last element. Maybe at position 10, maybe at position 15. Depends how big the vector is. Okay, because it is growing and shrinking dynamically. At particular point of time in your program, you may not have idea that what is the length of the vector. You want last element. Now what you will do? You have a method available called last element, which returns whichever the last element available in the vector. Okay, fine. So it returns value from the last position of the vector. Searching a vector, you can search vector with the help of method contains. Okay, so contains method will look for this object in the given vector. If it finds this object in the given vector, it returns true because it found that particular object. Otherwise, it returns false. You can also use index of. Okay, index of. If you want, see the difference between contains and index of. Contains returns true or false, whether this object is found in the vector or not. Sometimes you want to find out where this object is present. In that case, you can use index of. So this object is searched, and if it is found, it returns the index of that first occurrence. If object is not found, it returns a special value -1, because just like array, in vector also index value starts from 0 onwards. So there cannot be any element at -1 position. So to indicate that the given object not found, it returns a special value -1. So you will come to know that if index of has returned -1, it means that this object is not found in the vector. All right, fine. So you may sometimes want to search particular objects from particular location. Okay, because same object may have multiple occurrences in the vector. So let's say if particular object occurs 5 times, you want to find out 4th occurrence, then you have to search the vector from a particular position. Okay, so in that case, this object is searched from this index value, specified index value onwards. So search will begin from this location onwards where the first occurrence of this object is found. All right, it will return -1 if object is not found from this index onwards. All right, so it is a kind of variation over this index of method, where it will start searching this object from this position onwards. All right, index of object, you can also find out last index. So it will search from backward. Okay, last occurrence, it will search from backward where this particular object has last occurred. So it will search in backward order also. It will search index, it will search vector from the specified order, specified index in the backward order. Okay, so it is searching in the backward order, okay, from this particular specified location. Okay, in this way, there are like many methods available in the vector class. It will work like equals method we discussed earlier. You can get information about vector. What is the length of the vector? Is vector is empty or not? Okay, so there is one method called is empty. Is empty returns true if vector is empty. If vector has some element, it returns false. If you want to find out what is the current size of the vector, you have a method called size, because vector keeps on growing and shrinking. Okay, so at particular point of time, if you want to find out what is size of the vector, you have a method available size, which will return the current size of the vector. From vector, if you want to copy all elements into array, then it is possible. ToArray method will copy all the elements from vector into array of object, because it contains only objects. Okay, so it will copy all the elements from within vector into array of object in the same order. All right, so I guess that is what we wanted to discuss about array. string and vector. All right, so with this, today we end the session. We'll continue from like for further discussion, we'll continue in the next session. If you have any queries, any doubts, you can drop in the chat box. I can address them. All right, I guess there are no queries. Okay, so we end the session now. Okay, so we'll continue with further topics in the next session.